Welcome to HP Tuners Subaru Training Part 31. In this training tutorial, we're going to be taking a look at using the Flex Fuel tuning feature that's going to be a custom patch that we can apply using our VCM editor software. We're going to have a lot to cover. Let's jump in so we can check this out. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be taking a look at working with our Flex Fuel tuning feature in our Subaru applications. Flex Fuel based tuning allows us to use a ethanol content sensor or flex fuel sensor mounting into our fuel system. We can measure the amount of ethanol content we have in our fuel. Now, whether it's going to be pure petrol fuel or all the way up to 100% ethanol, we're able to determine what that ethanol content is going to be, and we can vary the fuel and spark timing and boost level according to our ethanol concentration. In order to make the engine run properly, we definitely need to alter the fuel and spark timing at the very minimum, and taking advantage of the cooling effect and the octane effect of ethanol fuel, we can run more boost pressure. So we can make a lot more power by running more boost, also running more ignition timing, but we also have to make sure we're scaling our fuel proportional to that ethanol content amount. We can accomplish all of this with the Flex Fuel tuning option within our HPT custom patch that we can apply onto our ROM file. That's what we're going to be taking a look at here in this tutorial, digging in and understanding how this all is going to work. The first thing we want to do is jump into our VCM editor software here. We're going to go and open up a sample file. We're going to go to the HPT Subaru course folder. We're going to go to the sample calibration file subfolder, and then we're going to open up our HPT custom features applied file. This has the HPT custom patch applied already, and we have the Flex Fuel features added into the ROM file. Now, if you're opening up your ROM file and you've applied your HPT custom patch to it and you don't see the Flex Fuel option, you'll have to contact support at HP Tuners. They can add it in because not all of the ROM files have been patched with the Flex Fuel tuning feature. Let's jump in and take a look at this right now. What I'm going to do is jump up here into Engine, and I'm going to go here from General. We're going to go across into Fuel, and then we can see in our tabs here, we've seen all of these tabs: General, Oxygen Sensors, Open Loop, Cutoff, Transient Fuel. We have this new tab that's been added, again, because we've applied that patch. Jumping into the OS here, we've applied that HPT custom features patch. We can see it's showing applied status. So because we've applied the patch, and this Flex Fuel feature has been added into this particular ROM ID. We can see that's the ROM ID up here at the top. We can find that we're able to program this. Now, when we apply the Flex Fuel features patch and we turn it on, we actually have this enabled in our HPT custom features patch, and we turn this on up top here on this flex mode, going in and choosing one of these options, arms it and turns it on. We'll find that a lot of the tables and some of the programming that we found in other areas or other tables is bypassed, and it's actually going to be using and sourcing the information for something like our injector flow rate, or the cranking fuel, or the variable cam timing, or our spark timing, or some of the boost control or target air fuel from our ethanol content tables here. So the low ethanol content and high ethanol content. So this will bypass a lot of those other core tables. This is going to be what we actually edit, and we don't worry about what we've already talked about in some of our other tutorials on these specific topics of fuel and spark timing and cranking fuel and so on and so on. So let's go in here and let's take a look under General, and let's turn on this Flex Fuel option. Under Flex Mode, we go here and we see our two options. We have our TGV left and rear O2. Now, what we're going to have to do here is use a Flex Fuel gauge or a Flex Fuel processor that converts the raw signal from our Flex Fuel sensor, which is a 50 to 150 hertz frequency signal. That's actually what the Flex Fuel sensor outputs on its own. You're not able to wire that directly into either of these options here. These will accept a voltage input, specifically a 0 to 5 volt input. What we're going to have to do is use an aftermarket gauge, such as a Innovate or a Z-Tronics, that's going to take a Flex Fuel sensor. It's going to bring in that ethanol content reading in frequency in that raw hertz value. Coming into the processor gauge, it'll display what the ethanol content is going to be based on that frequency, and then it'll output a 0 to 5 volt scale proportional to what it's registering in that 50 to 150 hertz scale. Whatever that ethanol content sensor is sending out in terms of a frequency, it converts that into a voltage output. And we can translate the voltage output then into an ethanol scale within our table right here in this sensor calibration table. So for example, I use the Innovate Flex Fuel gauges because they're relatively cheap and they work pretty well and they're reliable. We can find that we have a yellow wire coming out of the Innovate flex fuel gauge that we can tie into either of these two options here. So TGV left or the rear O2. For my personal experience, I always like to use the TGV left as the option I have coming for the 0 to 5 volt input from my flex fuel gauge, whatever that's going to be, Zetronic, Innovate, or another brand. This is the option. I find that this is more reliable using the TGV left. So I'm going to choose this particular option. Now, if we go here into our sensor calibration table, we're going to find that this is going to translate the voltage to the ethanol concentration. So remember, flex fuel gauge registers and reads in raw hertz or raw frequency. That's 50 to 150 hertz. So 50 hertz is 0% ethanol, 150 hertz is 100% ethanol. So anything between that, it's just a linear lookup scale, the frequency to ethanol concentration. The factory ECU can't register and work with a raw frequency signal like that, so it needs to be converted. That's the purpose of the... Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.